Hello my friends and welcome once again to a DokuraRS YouTube video for the Legacy Elite Dungeons Trilogy series. It is absolutely wonderful to have you here. So this video is going to be all about ED2. So ED2 is the easiest of the Elite Dungeons in the trilogy in my opinion. It really doesn't push forward any serious mechanical challenges for any of the boss fights. However, when you start it, it does have one of its biggest challenges, which is the slimes. Anybody who's ever done ED2 knows how much of a nightmare these slimes are. So, all we've done to deal with them is like in the previous waves, in other previous difficult things, we've just taken our time. We've actually managed to aggro 3 at a time, rather than all of them at once, due to the lack of AoE abilities, and just slowly taking them down. Next on to the Wet Red Dragons, again, it's just picking off what we can and making sure nothing actually follows us throughout the dungeon. Had any of those lava spiders aggroed me, I would have just killed them as well. Just make sure that nothing followed us. Now, moving on to that bridge next, again, we're just going to slowly tiptoe our way onto the bridge, lure off a couple magma golems, and kill them one at a time. Rather than just trying to focus heavily on AoEs, because we don't have any. Once we are over the bridge, that's one of the real problems for this dungeon. And to be honest, the only thing I actually foresaw as being an issue for this dungeon was the waves in the form of the Celestial Dragons. Given that you need to DPS them hard, and to stop them healing, you need to stun them. Now, fortunately, we've already worked out a way to stun. Because in the theory crafting process of this, we obviously needed to work out how to get rid of the black holes at Ambassador, because they require a stun as well. Now, I did test and Dreadnips don't work. Dreadnips don't stun the black holes at Ambassador, which is a pain. However, to deal with the Celestial Dragons, what we're doing is we're using the same stun we're planning on using Ambassador, which is a Dragon Spear special attack. Yes, the Lava Whip does stun and damage, whereas the Dragon Spear doesn't damage at all. However, the Dragon Spear has the advantage of it takes significantly less adrenaline. So for both situations, it allows you to stun more frequently without doing the damage. And you know what? In this sort of scenario, in this sort of fight, we're not doing damage. Anyway, we're doing very minimal damage, so we can deal with doing a little bit less and dealing with the mechanics properly. We are also making heavy use of Dominion Mines and Dreadnips as well, just to really try and keep the DPS pressure up on these Celestial Dragons. And as we fight our way down to a Stellan, we're just, again, clearing off more dragons than we have to, just so there's nothing following us, there's nothing dealing extra damage to us for longer than it should be. And we're really just making sure that everything dies. It's a guarantee that we're going to get this kill. As up until this point, we did get through ED1 with 0 deaths. We just walked through everything. It was amazing, and I'd really like to continue that through Elite Dungeons too. However, we shall see if I actually succeeded in that or not. And again, we're just killing off the last of the few Celestials. Again, just really keeping up that pressure on them, and on me really, those dragons with the hull, constantly trying to heal, and making sure that we were watching our special attack. Annoyingly, it did stop us from really wanting to use the Zara's Godsword much, because we needed that special for making sure that we could stun them when it was needed. So, we're just going to make a new preset, and we're going to go on to boss number 2, which is a Stellan. Now, a Stellan isn't that difficult. It's very high damage intensity, as anybody who's done it in solo knows. Anyone who's done it before knows at all. And because of the way it works with the black and white holes, we're not actually, the first time, we're not going to open with the Zara's Godsword special attack. We are, however, going to go straight for the pulsars, and then as soon as the black hole drops in melee distance, that's when we're going to go for the Zara's Godsword special attack. Slap on the Dragon Dagger, well, it's actually a superior Dragon Dagger for those of you who noticed by now, with an offhand Kopesh, and then just use the special attacks of that with the Ring of Vigor equipped, use a Adrenaline Renewal, and keep special attacking until we're out. We get about 4 special attacks out that way, and then back to the Zara's Godsword to DPS it down. Now, we didn't do that badly for the times on this. Actually, 2 black holes is a pretty decent time for an Stellan solo, especially given the fact that, well, even if you take out the fact that it was Legacy, that's not a bad time. Not a great time, granted, but it's not a terrible time, and that is a Stellan down. Fantastic. Happy days, and on to Wave 2. Now, Wave 2 for ED2 actually is the easiest wave of the three. Obviously, the first wave has the slimes to deal with. The final wave is all just Gemstone Dragons and their special attack. But Wave 2 does have some problems. Now, again, we're starting off with the Celestial Dragons, so we've got to deal with that. We've then got the lovely little lava spiders. But again, you know, we're just going to pre-arrange against them, and we're just going to kill them and take our time, so that they're not following us to the dungeons. And the other real issue with this, which we actually got kind of lucky with, is the high density of mini-bosses that can spawn in this area, like in the first area of Elite Dungeons 1. But here there is a very high chance, again, like in Elite Dungeons 1, of them actually aggroing onto you. Now, we got lucky that didn't happen. We did play to make sure that we avoided it at all costs, in that where we actually walked, you know, we passed very far away from them. But again, we did try to make sure, you know, there was always the chance that they'd attack us, and that would have been, it wouldn't have been run-ending, but it would have been problematic. Now, it's one of my favourite parts of the Elite Dungeons 2, because I absolutely love Elite Dungeons 2, which is fighting up that underground volcano, just fighting off these dragons. Now, I did realise that I could have used the dragon trinkets as a bit more DPS here, long after the run, potentially, and to, you know, help me out a little bit. But, it's fine. It's fine, end of the day, legitimately. And as you can see, chat is spamming our legacy emote on Twitch, which is fantastic, and I love all you guys for supporting the channel and spamming those emotes. So thank you for that. Again, we're just fighting our way up to Radcliff. It's a slow process, just making sure you do it one dragon at a time. Obviously, you've got no AoEs, and really just trying to make sure that you conserve as much food as possible. Obviously, it doesn't really matter for this wave. We're not taking that much damage. It's not the most damage-intense wave. We have skipped those two lava strike ones due to the fact that they can't follow you, even though they can hit you a little bit at times, but they can't actually follow you. And the screen went slightly smaller there because I apparently that's what happens when I minimise RuneScape and don't realise whilst I'm streaming. OBS just makes it really small. Great. Interesting for me to see that back. So I had a hunch that happened, but I wasn't completely aware. Anyhow, we're just fighting up here. We've got, as per usual, these are in times 4 speed, and the bosses are in 2 times speed. I say as per usual, this is the second video. It's usual for any legacy stuff that I do, and now we are on to Radcliff. So, Radcliff is a fantastic boss. I do enjoy it, it's really good fun, but again, mechanically it's not the most difficult, fortunately. So, the real issue with Radcliff, potentially, or what I first thought when I went for my first ever solo here in Legacy, which was only a few days before I did this run, thanks to channel points in my stream. Thanks guys, really appreciate that. I was a bit concerned about the DPS on the spires. Now, I know that Dominion Mines do work on the spires, but I also know they really don't do that much damage to them. With the spire only having 15k HP, I would argue that Dominion Mines aren't completely worth it. However, it turns out that a ZGS just tears through them. It was great. The ZGS absolutely destroyed the spires again, so we're just going to slowly dodge the mechanics. Now, we were just tanking the egg bombs, or whatever you want to call that special attack, for those typeless hits. Obviously, normally in EOC, I would personally reprisal those. Since we don't have reprisal, it was a case of I might as well just take the hit, because the loss in DPS would make this fight a lot more painful and last a lot longer. Obviously, I wanted to make this last as little time as possible because I just wanted to get through it. It's ED2. The real challenge of the run was yet to come in the form of Elite Dungeons 3, because that has 2 seriously problematic bosses, but we will come to them when we get to Elite Dungeons 3. And again, obviously with the flame special attack of Radcliff, it's just moving. You've got to move a bit earlier, you've got to make sure you move further, and you lose more DPS in Legacy because you don't have the ability to surge away or anything like that. But that's fine. You know, we can deal with that. Not a problem. We did deal with that. And we just slowly chipped away through the fight, slowly got away through his HP, making sure that as soon as those spires are down, you're prioritising killing them. dropping the special attacks as much as you can for the Zaros God Sword, and then Dragon Dagger special attacks over the top of it. Prioritising them onto the Radcliff was a key thing, rather than hitting them with the Spire like the Temptation would be, and making sure that we dodge as much as we can in the form of the Flames and the Dragon Dive Bombing, since dodging them doesn't really lower DPS too much, and, well, the Flames, dodging it does lower DPS, but you're going to die if it hits you. Obviously, again, as I said, with the Egg Bomb or whatever you call that special attack, quite happily can take that hit, have enough food to survive, and get the extra DPS there, because the DPS loss, I feel, is not worth how long it takes to deal with that mechanic. It would have ended up adding a full cycle, I reckon, between Flames to this fight. But yeah, it really was good fun. Now, next we do have a bit of a problem in the waves with the whole Gemstone Dragons, but we're going to come to them as we get there. Unfortunately, the final fight of this dungeon, the Blackstone Dragon, yes, there's a lot of mechanics, but again, all the mechanics for it don't really become massively problematic when you get down to Legacy. There's no massive DPS race like a Stellan with the... So not like a Stellan, like Sierru with having to get the crystals down in that set period of time. There's no massive, like, you've got to stun this, you've got to make sure you do this sort of DPS based, anything like that, like Ambassador. It's just deal with each one as it comes. There's bits you can soul split, there's bits you can't when it does the Ring of Death. You've got the Black Hands, making sure that you just DPS them. But again, it's not like it's going to explode if you don't DPS the Black Hands down quickly enough. So it's absolutely fine. It's genuinely not that bad. And Radcliff is finally down. A long fight, but, again, not the worst. The ED1 and ED3 fights were definitely longer and much more painful. However, onto the final wave and the problems that gives us. Fun! Still don't know why I'm doing this to myself for this full challenge. But, you know what, we're doing it. It's all good. I'm glad you're watching it with me. I really am. So, the final wave, wave 3 of ED2. That is a brilliant one, as obviously there's a few issues with these Gemstone Dragons can actually hit pretty hard, and their special attacks, yes, they're easy to dodge, but at the one section there is 4 dragons on you at once, can be a bit of a nightmare, especially if you're DPSing them down really slowly, given that you're on Legacy. However, even though with that Legacy, we're just going to keep DPSing them down. Again, it really is just focusing where you use your special attacks. I did time that black hole a bit in the wrong location, but I didn't want to be as close to them, to these 3 dragons. I wanted to be as far away as possible them, so I'd get as much warning with regards to the with their special attacks coming my way, so we can dodge them every single time. And again, yes, you don't have to kill the first 2 dragons, and yes, you don't have to kill the Hydrix dragons that are coming up. But as I've already said, I don't want anything following me through these dungeons. I feel like that would be a mistake. Anything still alive, left alive, it doesn't... Even if you don't need to kill it, if it's aggroed onto me, I'm killing it, because I just want to make damn sure that we do focus on keeping that food, keeping ourselves alive, and getting 0 deaths. I mean, hell, we're up to the final boss of the second Elite Dungeons on 0 deaths at this point. Can we actually make it to Elite Dungeons 3 on no deaths? That is the real question. I'm not going to tell you. I think you already know the answer, but I'm not going to tell you. Yes, the answer is yes. I couldn't hold it in. Yeah, we did manage to just walk through Elite Dungeons 2, as well as Elite Dungeons 1. We are on the final part of these dragons now, these Gemstone Dragons. Again, as I said, they were a bit annoying. They've got a lot of HP and they've got that special attack that you need to dodge. But, again, even though it's a large amount of HP, it just adds time as far as Legacy is concerned. It's not like it adds anything that's mechanically impossible or mechanically extremely difficult with Legacy. So we're just going to slowly DPS through that, and they are down. Time for the Blackstone Dragon and completing Elite Dungeons 2. Now, personally, I am a big fan of Blackstone Dragon. I do love ED2. So this fight, as I said, it really isn't that difficult. It's all just about making sure that you know what to dodge. and when to dodge it. So, as per usual, for every boss but a Stellan, we are opening with that Zaros Godsword special attack and going straight into some Dragon Dagger special attacks. And we're just going to try DPS them down as much as we can to get through this first phase. Now, we do have with us a few different special attack weapons for this one. We've got the Divine Spirit Shield in case we start getting battered at the back end. Obviously, we've got the Blessed Flask and we've got the Primal Feast. We didn't need as much food as we brought, but it's better to be safe than sorry in case mistakes were made, because it's me, mistakes are likely to be made. Obviously, we've got the Dreadnoughts to help and keep the damage pressure up on him, and we do have the Dominion Mines for getting these black hands down as quickly as possible. As I did say, that you don't need to get them down quickly. It's not like anything's going to explode or do more damage to you. But I also don't want to be in the fight for that long. I mean, come on. You know, you just want to get it done. The Blackstone Dragon kill ended up being just over 9 minutes. Now compare that to the 36-minute Sieru kill. It's an improvement, but again, that's just down to Sieru's mechanics and Blackstone's mechanics and how those fights work. Blackstone does have the time lock halfway through the fight with the whole jumping around and setting fire, whereas Sieru that's all about the killing the crystals, which is a bit of a pain as that's HP locks when his head goes down. So we're just onto the black hands. Again, we're just dropping Dominion Mines and a Dreadnought on each black hand, and then just attacking it as quick as we can, and getting it down as quick as we can. Now, we were using the Armadyl Godbook here rather than the Vampirism Scrimshaw, just because I know you don't take that much damage at Blackstone Dragon compared to some of the other bosses. And again, that's just really helping with that kill time, especially getting the black hands down. We did use the Armadyl Godbook for a bit of it after Blackstone Dragon as well, and a bit on the way to Blackstone Dragon. However, for certain fights, we obviously made sure that we stuck to the Vampirism Scrimshaw. We're now into the... I don't know if you'd call this the second or third phase. I've always called this the third phase of the fight, with Black Hands being phase 2. And it doesn't really matter. Again, it's just getting that Zaros Godsword special attack off. Obviously, because it's the Ring of Death, you can soul split, which is great for the HP side of things. And just really DPS it down. Do as much damage as you possibly can, and try and make sure you get this fight ended quickly. Actually DPS this down faster than I expected to. Again, the screen shakes, you move to get away from that special attack, otherwise you're likely to get dropped. And the other special attack it uses, the little black balls of death similar to Radcliff's flames, I've never actually had that be thrown anywhere near me. So I obviously you'd run away from it if it is, but that attack just doesn't seem to be that problematic. Yeah, you see, it's just miles away when it throws it. But hey ho, it is what it is. So, we're on to the final phase. I think we all know how this fight's going to go at this point. I've already told you, we get the kill first time without dying, which is fantastic. I'm just going to run in a big circle. Now, again, this fight really isn't that bad in the final phase, whatever you call it. If this is phase 4, that's phase 5. But I know how that could also be classed, the final phase could be classed as phase 3 as well, since this isn't really a phase. Depends who you ask. It's exactly the same as what we've just done. So we've got the last Ring of Death. We're just going to run in, we're going to DPS as much as we can, and the kill's going to be done. So thank you all so very much for watching this video. It is really appreciated, the support. And we are in the journey. We have the hardest part, the hardest leg of this journey coming up, which is the Elite Dungeons 3 solo in Legacy in melee only. And that's going to be the next episode. So hopefully we can actually prove it's possible. And as far as I'm aware, nobody else has actually managed to do this before in Legacy only. For either so in Legacy in melee only for either the Trilogy or the Ambassador kill. So if we get that Ambassador kill, we're sitting pretty. So, quick shout out at the end here now. Just thank you all for watching. To the Detox PVM community. They are a wonderful, non-toxic, learner-friendly PVM community. They don't do Legacy. They do actual PVM with abilities and stuff. So give them a check out. The link to the Discord will be in the description below. And please come join us at the DokuraRS stream. We have some fun. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.